Anayo, this is not right. Uzochi's voice trembled as she stared at her husband. He wouldn't meet her eyes. His head hung low, but his words remained firm. It's for us, Uzochi. For our future. Do this for me, for us. Anayo had always been a proud man. Growing up in Nnewi, he was known for his charm and ambition. Life was supposed to go well for him. He married Uzochi, the love of his life, and they had 2 beautiful children, Obinna and Ifunanya. But the economy had been harsh. Anayo's business had collapsed, and they were barely surviving. No matter how hard he tried, things seemed to go from bad to worse. His best friend Jidofo was his complete opposite. Where Anayo struggled, Jidofo thrived. Jide was wealthy, very wealthy. He had made his fortune in the oil business and owned several properties in Lagos and Abuja. Yet, despite his riches, Jide remained close to Anayo. He would visit Anayo's modest home and help him with money from time to time. But it was never enough. One evening, as Anayo sat at the dining table in deep thoughts, an idea came to him. He had seen the way Jide looked at Uzochi. His best friend never hid his admiration for her beauty. Uzochi, even after 2 kids, still turned heads wherever she went. And while she was too modest to notice, Anayo did. A thought entered his mind, a dark, desperate thought. Could he ask Jide for help in exchange for something unthinkable? He shook his head, trying to dismiss it. But the more he considered it, the more he convinced himself it might be the only way. Days passed, and Anayo became more restless. Finally, he approached Jide. Jide, he started, swallowing his pride. I need your help. Of course, my brother, what do you need? Jide replied casually, leaning back in his chair. I need money, a lot of money. My family is suffering, and I have tried everything, but nothing is working. Jide nodded, his face serious now. You know I have been helping you with what I can, but I can't keep giving you like that, Anayo. It's not sustainable. I know. But if I offer you something in return? Jide raised an eyebrow, curious. What do you mean? Anayo hesitated, his mouth dry. His voice dropped to a whisper. You have always admired Uzochi. Jide's eyes widened in surprise. Anayo, what are you saying? I am saying, Anayo continued, his hands trembling. What if you and Uzochi, just for one night, in exchange, you help us with the money we need? There was a silence. Jide stared at Anayo, speechless. For what felt like an eternity, finally he spoke, his voice low. Are you serious? Anayo nodded, his stomach churning with shame. I wouldn't ask if I wasn't desperate. Jide didn't respond immediately. He stood up, paced around the room, and then sighed heavily. This is madness, Anayo. You can't possibly think this is a good idea. I know it sounds insane, but we need the money, Jide. I don't know what else to do. Jide stared at him, conflicted. I have always respected you, Anayo. This will change things forever. Are you sure? Anayo lowered his head. I have made up my mind. When Anayo brought the idea to Uzochi, she was horrified. Anayo, how could you even think of such a thing? She cried. Am I some object to be traded for money? I'm your wife." Tears streamed down her face, and Anayo's heart ached to see her like that. But this desperation was stronger than his shame. "I know, Uzochi, I know. But what other choice do we have? Look at our children. We can't even feed them properly anymore. You have seen how Jide is always looking at you. He's rich. One night, Uzochi. Just one night, and all our problems will be over." Uzochi felt disgusted. Her stomach churned and her head spun with confusion. She couldn't believe the man she married was asking her to do this. She had always known Anayo was proud, but now that pride seems broken beyond repair. She refused to speak to him for days. But as the days turned into weeks and their situation grew worse, Uzochi found herself in dilemma. She loved her family. Her children were everything to her, and seeing them suffer was unbearable. Anayo's word rang in her head. One night and everything will be solved. Finally, after many sleepless nights, she agreed, but with a heavy heart. "I will do it," she said softly, "but only for the children." Anayo hugged her tightly, whispering, "Thank you, Uzochi. You won't regret this." Jide arranged everything. It was to be a private night at one of his luxury hotels in Lagos. Uzochi couldn't believe this was really happening as she stood in front of the mirror getting ready. Her heart pounded in her chest, and every part of her body screamed against what she was about to do. As she walked into the hotel room that night, Jide was waiting for her, looking more uncomfortable than she had ever seen him. He smiled, but it was a sad, guilty smile. "You don't have to do this, Uzochi," he said quietly. But she had already made up her mind. Let's just get this over with. This night was a blow. Uzochi felt numbed the entire time, blocking out her emotions. When it was over, she returned home, not speaking a word to Anayo. The money was transferred to Anayo's account the next day, enough to clear their debts and even start a new business. But something had changed between them. Uzochi couldn't look at her husband the same way anymore. She avoided his touch, and the house, once filled with love, now felt cold and empty. A few months later, the unimaginable happened. Uzochi realized she was pregnant. She and Anayo had barely been intimate after that night, and deep down, she feared the worst. The baby wasn't Anayo's, it was Jide's. Panic seized her. What was she going to do? How could she explain to her husband? The thought of telling him the truth terrified her. She had done what he asked, but this was not part of the plan. When Uzochi finally gathered the courage to tell Anayo, he reacted in a way she hadn't expected. He stared at her, his eyes wide with shock, and then he began to laugh, bitter, painful laughter that echoed through their small home. "Anayo, please stop," she pleaded, tears streaming down her face. "I didn't mean for this to happen." But Anayo couldn't stop laughing. "This is what we have become, Uzochi. Look at us. I sold my wife to my best friend, and now you are carrying his child." Uzochi fell to her knees, sobbing uncomfortably. She had done it for her family, but now her family was falling apart. Anayo's pride, already shattered, was gone completely. He couldn't bear to look at her, and Uzochi couldn't bear the guilt weighing down on her soul. Their life would never be the same again. The deal that was supposed to solve everything had instead destroyed the very thing they were trying to protect, their family. And that was the most shocking part of all. The days after Uzochi's confession were the hardest. Anayo stopped speaking to her entirely. He would leave the house early in the morning and return late at night, avoiding any conversation or confrontation. The silence between them was suffocating. Uzochi felt like a stranger in her own home, consumed by guilt and shame. The children sensed something was wrong. Obinna, the eldest, would ask, "Mama, where is Papa? Why is he always so quiet?" Uzochi would force a smile, her heart breaking with each lie she told them. Meanwhile, Anayo was battling his own demons. He had always prided himself on being the man of the house, but now he felt less than that. The decision to push his wife into Jide's arm had been his, and the consequences were his to bear. Every time he saw Uzochi, the weight of his guilt crushed him. He wouldn't look her in the eyes without seeing his own failure reflected back at him. But it wasn't just the shame, it was the jealousy that ate at him. He couldn't stop imagining Jide and Uzochi together. He had been the one to ask for it, but the thought of his best friend touching his wife haunted him every single day. It drove him mad. It wasn't long before Jide heard about the pregnancy. He had been avoiding Anayo and Uzochi after that night, feeling guilty about what happened. But when he heard that Uzochi was expecting and that there was a chance that the child was his, he knew he had to face the situation. One evening, Jide showed up at Anayo's home unannounced. Uzochi was in the kitchen and Anayo was sitting outside, staring into space. "Anayo, we need to talk," Jide said, his voice firm. Anayo looked up, his face emotionless. "About what?" Jide took a deep breath. "About Uzochi, about the baby." At the mention of the baby, something inside Anayo snapped. He stood up abruptly, his eyes blazing with anger. "You think I don't know, Jide? You think I don't know this is all my fault?" His voice was shaking and his fists clenched tightly at his sides. Jide, normally composed, looked unsure. "Anayo, I never wanted any of this to happen. I didn't want to hurt you or Uzochi." Anayo let out a bitter laugh. "Didn't want to hurt us? You slept with my wife. I asked you, yes, but don't act like you didn't want it. You have always wanted her. I saw the way you looked at her." Jide fell silent, unable to deny the truth. "I am sorry, Anayo, but we have to deal with this now. If the baby is mine..." "Don't finish that sentence," Anayo interrupted, stepping closer to Jide, his voice low and dangerous. "You have no claim over my family. None. This is my mess, and I will fix it." Jide's face softened. "I don't want to make things worse. I will take care of everything if the child is mine. I can..." "You will do nothing," Anayo shouted, his voice rising again. "You have done enough. Leave my family alone." Before Jide could respond, Uzochi stepped out of the house, her face pale. She had overheard everything. "Please stop this," she whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. This fighting won't solve anything, but the damage had already been done. Anayo couldn't stand to look at Jide anymore. "Get out of here, Jide. I don't ever want to see you again." Jide hesitated, his eyes filled with regret, but he knew there was nothing more he could say. He nodded silently and walked away, leaving Anayo and Uzochi standing in the cold, empty night. The weeks passed slowly. Uzochi's pregnancy advanced, but the tension in the house only grew worse. Anayo's anger hadn't subsided, and Uzochi felt trapped. No matter what she did, there was no escaping the weight of their decision. One night, Uzochi finally broke down. She couldn't hold it any longer. "Anayo, We can't keep living this way. We need to talk about what's happening. This baby, we don't even know for sure if it's Jide's. Anayo's face hardened. Do you think it matters, Uzochi? Do you think anything will be the same whether it is mine or his? You let him touch you. I let him touch you. We destroyed everything. But we did it for our family, Uzochi cried. For the children, for us, Anayo. I didn't want to do it, but you asked me to. We both made a mistake. I didn't betray you. Anayo slammed his fist on the table. You didn't betray me, Uzochi. I look at you, and all I can see is him. I can't live like this. Uzochi flinched at his words, tears flowing freely now. I did it for you, Anayo, for us. I never wanted this, but I did this because I believed in us. You are my husband and I love you. This baby, whether it's yours or his, is still a part of our family. Anayo was silent for a moment, his chest heavy with anger and frustration. He knew she was right. He had pushed her into this, but the jealousy and shame were eating him alive. He couldn't forgive himself. As much as he wanted to, he didn't know if he could forgive her either. I don't know if I can ever look at you the same way again, Uzochi, he whispered, his voice broken. Those words hit like a punch to the guts. She had known this could happen, but hearing it still hurt more than she imagined. She had done everything for her family, but now it felt like the family was slipping away. Months passed and the day of the baby's birth finally arrived. Uzochi gave birth to a baby boy. The joy that should have filled the room was tainted by uncertainty. The questions of paternity hung in the air, unspoken but ever present. Anayo stood by Uzochi's side, looking at the child with mixed emotions. He was a beautiful baby, but Anayo's mind couldn't stop racing. He looked at the baby's future, searching for any resemblance to Jide, but it was too soon to tell. For the first few days, they avoided the topic, pretending as if everything was normal. But the tension was palpable. Anayo knew they couldn't continue like this. Finally, he decided to take action. We need to do a DNA test, he told Uzochi one evening, his voice quiet but firm. Uzochi nodded slowly. She had been expecting this. If that's what it will take for us to move forward, then let's do it. The test was done and the results came back a week later. The moment of truth arrived. Anayo held the envelope in his hands, his heart pounding in his chest. Uzochi sat beside him, her hand trembling. They both knew the moment would define the rest of their lives. With a deep breath, Anayo tore open the envelope and read the results. The baby was his. Relief washed over Uzochi, but Anayo's reaction was different. Instead of joy, he broke down in tears. All the pain, guilt, and anger he had been holding in finally spilled out. I did this to us, he sobbed. I let my pride destroy everything. I almost lost you, Uzochi. I almost destroyed our family. Uzochi held him tightly, tears streaming down her face. We did it together, Anayo, but we can still fix this. We can still be a family. It wasn't easy, but over time, Anayo and Uzochi began to heal. The scars of what had happened would always remain, but they were determined to rebuild their marriage and family. Anayo started a new business with the money Jide had given them, and this time, it began to flourish. Uzochi focused on the children, pouring all her love and energy in making their home a place of peace and warmth again. They never spoke to Jide again. He had left their lives quietly, knowing that his presence would only make things worse. In the end, Anayo and Uzochi learned a hard lesson, that sometimes the cost of desperation is far greater than they could ever have imagined. But through it all, they found a way to stay together, stronger and wiser for the trials they had faced. And while the past couldn't be erased, they knew they had a future they could still shape together. Please do not forget to like this video, share this video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet subscribed. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.